Good evening, everybody. So, quite a day. If you guys have not been following the news since yesterday, we got a lot to update. And some of these updates, I don't know, to me, they're shocking. Hopefully, everyone is familiar with them and will be just honestly as appalled and wondering what's going on. All right. So, Wednesday, yesterday, four flagged draped transfer cases came home to Dover Air Base. Army First Lieutenant Tyler James Feehan, 25. Sergeant Angel Rampersad, 28. Private Isabella Gonzalez, 19. Sergeant Michael Swinton, 30. The 18th American service members lost since this war began in February. A war the president told us back then would last only a few weeks. A New York congressman named Pat Ryan watched the photos from that ceremony. Ryan is not a man throwing stones from a safe distance. 2 combat tours in Iraq as military intelligence officer, 2 Bronze Stars on his chest, and here's what he saw in that photo. There's a photo with every leader with their head down, bowed, and he's just staring off into the abyss. It's just pathetic. Tonight, 3 stories, and every one of them is about the same thing, whether the people running this country are actually present for that job or just staring past it. Y'all, I think we know what's going on here, and it is time. Let's go.
Standing for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Built upon the shoulders of the Constitution, rule of law, and the animating principle that we are all created equal. I need to hear a hallelujah, though I'm not considered a believer by some. I still believe in the warmth of heaven come. I need the rapture I feel when my feet touch the green, green grass of home. Then I know I have reached the valley of kingdom come. And when I reach that valley, I need to see you there, because we don't need a kingdom, we only need free air. We don't seek a king, we seek the brotherhood of man, and we won't fight for bondage, as we need no king or woman. We will stand undivided.
Y'all, welcome to the Hillbilly Think Tank. This is Spencer Keck, and I am a combat veteran, retired Navy doc, currently public school teacher, and I am a candidate for Magistrate District 3 here in Hardin County. Now, I'm also the educated hillbilly, and no, that's not an oxymoron. Don't call me a moron. There have been educated, erudite, emancipated hillbillies in Kentucky ever since my kith and kin came through that Cumberland Gap with Daniel Boone and the Long Hunters on their quest for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness right here. Now, let me finish this one gently, because it deserves that. A dignified transfer is one of the most sacred rituals our military has. Silent, solemn, every movement, and every moment in those movements rehearsed to honor the fact that a family's whole world just ended. Every leader on that tarmac stands with their heads bowed. Ryan's charge is that the president did not. And go look at the picture. He did not. He called the administration an absolute clown car. And he didn't stop at the photo. He tied it to the man's own history. What do you expect from a 5-time draft dodger who has no clue what this is? The American people see this. And that's quoting from Ryan. That's Ryan's language, and I'll let it stand as his, attributed straight to him. But I'll tell you plainly, the deferments themselves are simply documented history, not a matter of opinion. Then Ryan went further, pointing out that the same administration sending other people's kids into this war has family members who hold stock in the defense companies profiting from it. It's absolutely disgusting. It's absolutely un-American, he said. Now, y'all, again, I am also a combat veteran, just like Ryan, and I've stood in those ceremonies before when folks come home, but they come home in a box. And what a moment like that, it's supposed to require the people standing at the front honoring that deceased warrior, regardless of who they are. They're supposed to stand there with deference to a fallen warrior. It's just really that simple. Now, next segment, the insider trading poison pill. Third verse, same song. Now to Congress, and friends, you're going to recognize this next story because we have told it to you twice before in this show. Wednesday, the House passed something called the Stop Insider Trading Act, a real bipartisan championed idea that members of Congress shouldn't be allowed to trade individual stocks while they're sitting on information the rest of us just don't have. Long overdue. But watch what happened to it. Republican leadership stapled onto it a chunk of the SAVE Act, the same voter ID push we've covered on this show before. And Democrat after Democrat stood up and called it exactly what it was. Congressman Joe Morrell. This bill, quite simply, is a sham. Republicans have corrupted their so-called stock trading bill with the decaying piece of the Save America Act corpse. His words. Congressman Marie Gluesenkamp Perez said Republicans took a broadly nonpartisan issue and inserted politics, and noted flatly that Senate Republicans have already said the voter ID piece has no path to passing anyway. So here's the one I want you to sit with, because he's ours. Kentucky's own Congressman Thomas Massie, a Republican that we know this president had folks spend record millions upon millions, record, for getting rid of someone's bid in Congress that was already a member of the party in power. So Massie, here's what he said. You voted for the bill and still called his own party out by name. Congress is not serious. We are voting on a stock trading ban for members of Congress, but Republicans added voter ID in the legislation. Not to get Dems to vote for voter ID, but to get them to vote against the stock trading ban so they can use it in that November election. Read that twice. A member of the sponsoring party, the GOP, is telling you on the record that the poison pill isn't to pass voter ID at all. It's manufacturing a campaign attack ad. That's not lawmaking. That's a trap with a press release attached. So they're just coming up with this because they know there's no way that Democrats can vote for. There's two poison pills in here, actually. They know they cannot vote for it in the Senate. So it won't be able to pass in the Senate. But then the Republicans can use that in their attack ads. the good things that were in there. They won't mention that poison pill they inserted. All right. So even setting the poison pill aside, the bill itself has real teeth missing. It doesn't make members sell the stocks that they already own. They just have to give 2 weeks notice before selling. And it doesn't touch the president at all. Fortune reported that in the same quarter this bill claims to address the problem, the Trump family's own trades numbered in the thousands. This is now the third time on this show we've watched the exact same play. Take a genuinely popular, needed bill, veterans benefits, housing, new government ethics, staple the SAVE Act to it, and let it die of the very thing that we were supposed to fix. All right, next segment, the NDAA provision. Precisely, and no further. Now, the third story, another poison pill. I want to be more careful here than I've been on almost anything else on the show because the loudest voices on this one are the least reliable, and the real story doesn't need any embellishing. Wednesday, the House also narrowly passed the defense budget for next year, $1.15 trillion on a vote of 216 to 212, almost entirely along party lines. Buried inside it is a provision reported under a couple of different section numbers depending on the outlet. So I won't pretend to move precisely on that reporting, that creates a formal ongoing framework for the United States and Israel to share intelligence and jointly develop weapons technology, especially artificial intelligence and autonomous systems. And I've already talked about this in previous episodes, but here we go. Now they voted on it and they voted it up. And it includes a real specific restriction. If a future president ever wants to limit intelligence sharing with Israel, say over human rights concerns, that president would have to formally justify it to Congress on national security grounds specifically. Now, let me tell you plainly what this is not, because some corners of the internet are calling it a merger or a takeover of American intelligence, and others are saying that's not quite accurate. Nobody signed a document handing the CIA or the NSA to a foreign government, precisely. No American agency changes hands. I won't repeat those wilder claims on the show because they aren't what the text does, and this show doesn't deal in things that aren't so. But this is putting them very close. Here's what's true and serious enough on its own. The House Armed Services Chairman, Mike Rogers, says the provision simply designates one senior official to coordinate cooperation that already exists. His fair defense. And I'll give it to you straight. But critics on both sides of the aisle point out that this locks a future president's hands on foreign policy in a way that's almost impossible to undo. And a bipartisan group of lawmakers tried to strip the provision out entirely and were denied even a floor vote on it. And Kentucky's Congressman Massie, again, was one of the loudest no votes in the whole chamber, warning that the measure could compromise American sovereignty and national security. His words about a policy question, not a conspiracy theory. So the wild rumors, we'll just set them aside entirely. The real sober version is still worth your attention. $1 trillion bill, a foreign policy commitment that outlasts any single president, passed on a near party line vote after a bipartisan attempt to even debate it was blocked. Now, that's not a merger. It's something almost as important. A Congress that keeps finding ways to avoid a real vote on a real question. Next segment, the line, fair is fair on all three, quick and fair on each. On Dover, a single photograph can catch anybody at any unflattering angle, and grief looks different on different people. I won't pretend a still image proves what was in a man's heart. On the insider trading bill, something imperfect that finally moves after years of failed attempts is still real progress, and Congressman Chip Roy said as much. He wanted a tougher bill, divestiture, and voted for this one anyway, calling it a giant step forward. On the NDAA, Israel's a real ally facing real threats, and closer cooperation on defense technology isn't inherently wrong. Chairman Rogers' coordination argument deserves a fair hearing, not a dismissal. But here's my answer to all three, and it's the same answer each time. A photograph deserves benefit of the doubt, but a pattern of avoidable absence doesn't. And this administration has given us more than one photograph now, many more. An imperfect bill deserves credit, but not when the imperfection was manufactured on purpose to kill it politically, which Massie himself just told you was the point. And real cooperation with an ally deserves consideration, but not by blocking the one vote that would let the people's representatives actually debate it in the public, in the open. In every one of tonight's three stories, the common thread isn't left or right. It's whether the people in charge show up for the actual hard part of the job or just the photo op. Next segment, home. We're going to bring it home, as we always do here to Hardin County. So bringing it home because one of tonight's, and every one of tonight's failures is a process failure. And process is the one thing a county magistrate touches every single week. A poison pill dies because leadership never let the real bill stand on its own. $1 trillion foreign commitment slides through because a floor vote on stripping the risky part got blocked before anyone could even make the case. A grieving nation gets a photograph instead of a presence. Every single one of those is a failure to let the process do its job out in the open where people can see it and weigh it honestly. Now, the fiscal court version, of course, what an honest process actually looks like in that fiscal court, that's what we're voting on in November. And I pledge to never bury one good policy inside another to dodge a clean vote. That's my pledge if I'm elected. I'm running for magistrate because a county government that lets you see the whole bill, take the clean vote, and show up for hard moments is not a high bar. It's the floor. And Kentucky, through one congressman from this Commonwealth who was willing to say the emperor has no clothes to his own party twice in 1 week, showed the whole country what that kind of plain honesty, y'all, looks like. That's the standard. I intend to meet it. All right, now, before I close out, let's look at a little bit of history. Talked a bit before about my hero, Ulysses S. Grant. Great general, very good president. His downfall was, good man as he was, with sincere, deep principles, he trusted folks way too much. And inside his cabinet, and inside the administration, and inside the ruling party, there were folks that were basically making insider trading deals on whiskey. And that really brought him down, which ended up bringing down American civil rights for years. Because once he was gone, and we swept in folks who would let Jim Crow laws come to fruition, because once this president was gone, the Reconstruction Project was gone. Man, that set the country back. So we've got to be serious about the integrity of our elected officials, our administrations. No matter how good someone is, we have to always be vigilant. All right, y'all. And that brings us to seeing who made comments tonight. And I see we've got James Sanders. They are not an ally. Yeah, James. Now, you're the James I know from back in Virginia Beach. I hope you're doing well. And you're absolutely, right. Yeah. So Y'all, definitely, hopefully, we can have some real leadership this week. We can see some folks in the Senate really take this seriously. Vote against the PACs that are controlling a lot of these folks. Well, this has been Educated Hillbilly. Me, Spencer Keck, as I said, candidate for magistrate. Y'all, come to a fiscal court meeting. Bring your hardest question, whether I earn your vote or not. We will sit down and figure out a solid answer. I'll see you there. Keep thinking deeply, and remember, in Kentucky, united we stand, divided we fall. Those aren't just words on a flag. They're the glue that hold us all together. Because if we love our neighbors as ourselves, and we recognize that, yes, we are our brothers and our sisters' keeper, then we cannot be divided, and we will not fall. Remember, everyone deployed overseas, and boy, right now, it's real serious. We saw that at the beginning of the show. And bless your corazón. That is Spanish for heart. Y'all, I'm hoping you're having a good evening.
I have seen the dream of MLK come true. I have seen Martin's dream of justice alive and a world when at Thanksgiving
beans shipped across country in refrigerated trucks. And third, they take long and cooked than modern bush beans. In the 1950s and 60s, convenience became king, and TV did it. Soaking overnight, got laid out. But here's what they didn't tell you. Old-fashioned means it actually works. Your great-grandfather didn't grow salad runners because they were tender. He grew them because when the bank foreclosed on farms across the